Good afternoon, everybody. Good good afternoon, everybody. Today is Thursday, January the 7th, 2021, and I want to be updating you on COVID-19. So Canada has 63,003,401 cases confirmed in Canada. Alberta has 10,007,501 cases, 1,193 deaths. British Columbia has 55,254 cases, 962 deaths. Manitoba has 25,742 cases, 717 deaths. New Brunswick has 717 cases, 9 deaths. Newfoundland and Labrador has 392 cases, 4 deaths. Nova Scotia has 1,524 cases, 65 deaths. Ontario has 20,004,145 cases, 4,856 deaths. Prince Edward Island has 101 cases, 0 deaths. Quebec has 22,005,018 cases, 8,562 deaths. Saskatchewan has 17,138 cases, 177 deaths. Northwest Territory has 24 cases, 0 deaths. Nunavut has 266 cases, 1 death. And Yukon has 66 cases and 1 death total. So these are the cases that we have in Canada, and it's very important that we make sure that we do all we can by continuing to protect our health and making sure that we care about our loved ones as much as we can, and that's what's really important during this time, as much as we can. Now I want to be moving on, talking about what happened yesterday, because yesterday we did have a big story in America, and I want to be covering that before we go back to political of Alberta news. It was a disaster yesterday to see the Capitol building almost getting destroyed by the riots, and it was really shocking to see that Trump supporters went out there and actually decided to go and attack uh, that the White House, not the White House, the government building of Washington. And it was really crazy to see that in every way. And today people are resigning, and he lost his Facebook, and that's good because all he's doing is just convincing people that he deserves to win, and he doesn't actually. He lost the election. He's no longer the president anymore, and it's Biden's turn now to rule and to govern in the country. It's not his turn to go and govern and to do whatever he wants. And that's what happened yesterday. And it's just crazy to see all these people, especially the rise, and all these people to go and they're attacking. That's just damaging democracy and making America that doesn't have a democracy. And America is not a dictatorship country; it is a democracy kind of country. And I hope Biden, when he rules, hopefully he rules with peaceful, right? Um, and and it's just crazy to see that kind of thing happening in America, right? Because America is not never this was never in the history as we never had in history a president that doesn't want to accept a false or losing an election. We never had that in history, and this is the first time that we have a president that doesn't want to accept the results of the election. And instead of he lost already, no, he's on top of it, want to go and attack the people, attack Biden, and making his transition in 2 weeks very terrible for him, and that's just not right. Biden doesn't deserve that kind of a thing, and yeah, and this guy damaged America for years, and he didn't do much. And his supporters, too, they are another losers that just sit there and support him in every way. And it's just that's how America is now. It's still not good. The vaccines are not really getting rolled out much in America. Things are not that great as we saw. But yesterday it just shows that 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 some people just don't want to accept democracy, and that's just what the Republicans are, especially the people who followed President Trump himself, and that just shows what we saw yesterday by seeing the Capitol Hill getting the Capitol getting destroyed, not getting destroyed, but the mobs were going in and intervening in the thing and trying to take over the White House. That's yeah, that's attack on like having troops coming from another country and coming and attacking a city. So I'm just saying that's just crazy what I saw yesterday, and hopefully when you guys saw the news, it's really devastating. Just shows that's not America is known for. America is not known for dictatorship. America is not known for for not being fair, right? America is like us. We are here to have democracy. America has democracy too. But what we saw from the president, this is the president's orders that definitely he has to be fired soon because what he delayed all that stuff, right? They had a meeting yesterday, and he delayed that meeting, and they're supposed to be in the House of Representative, and they're supposed to be allowing Joe Biden elect to be the next leader and all that, and that's what he told his supporters to do, and that's what happened, and that's at the end of the day. Um, the White House got attacked. It would have been way worse now. Like think about it. If there was no, imagine if the White House was damaged or something, that would be a bigger problem. But this was a serious problem, and people never forget that. This is going to be in history because never we saw in the White House always yes, it got burned down once by another country. There was a war. I don't know if it was World War One or World War Two, but it did get hit before. But this is the second time now it's being attacked. And because of this, president just doesn't want to accept the results of the election. And there's no reason to go and attack government building just because you don't accept the results of the election. He lost. Just let everything pass the way it is. And I'm happy now that his Facebook and his Twitter account is locked now, so he cannot even send any more messages because what he's saying is just sending bad bad misinformation and too much lies from the Twitter, and that's what it is. And it's good that it's good that Mike Zuckerberg, the owner of Facebook, he already said that today he's gonna he's gonna lock the whole Facebook for at least until the time he's in office. So that means at least 2 weeks he's not gonna be able to send misinformation. Twitter also said they're gonna. They said they announced yesterday they're gonna suspend his Twitter for at least 12 hours, but they said they might even go further on if with more issues because this is the whole problem. This Facebook and this Twitter. This is where these people are doing these things because this is what's missing misinformation. People don't even want to hear that anymore. People are tired. These people that resigned today from Trump's party alone today because some of them are embarrassed what happened yesterday. They can't believe that this guy destroyed their party really badly, and some of them yesterday, today, some of them resigned. There's a police officer of the White House to resign. Another staff member from Trump's administration resigned today. People are resigning, and slowly people are resigning every day, and that's what's happening uh, every day, and that's what we can see, right? And he's losing people now, and now Democrats also called today on President Trump to they called on the Republicans to get rid of I'm going to read the whole article, but they want the Republicans to get rid of Donald Trump from power. He's not president anymore because this guy not only abused power, but he doesn't want to accept democracy. Somebody who doesn't want to accept democracy doesn't matter. He's two weeks left, but he can do more damage in those 2 weeks, and we can see that today. Yesterday we saw damage. Today nothing happened, but we don't know tomorrow. We don't know next week if anything going to happen. This guy is scary for America, and America is not It's not known for violence. It's not known for undemocratic. It's known for democracy. That's what we stand for. If we do something, we have to accept it the way it is. We don't go and fight that democracy and say, you know what, I deserve the power, although you didn't win. And that's breaking the law too, because at the end of the day, people did not choose you, right? People chose him, yes, but his people is not comparing to Biden's people is not the same. So you have to accept democracy in that point of view. You can't go over that democracy and do whatever you want. And what I saw yesterday is just unacceptable, and that should never happen in America, kind of thing. Because there's no need for you to go fight democracy. Like, who are you? Like, all former Republican from like um, we had George Bush, and we had all former presidents. They lost an election. They will accept it the way it is, but they will not go and overpower that, because who are you, right? We can win everything in life, but we have to know when to stop. And he did not do that. He kept going on, and he allowed his supporters to support him and all that. And the end didn't change anything for him. So what's the point? He just embarrassed himself. The whole world is seeing how crazy this guy is. Because America is never known as injustice, and you never have two parties that have issues and they fight against democracy. That should never happen. Here in Canada, it should never happen, and in America, should never happen. Because democracy is democracy. Whoever wins an election, that person deserves the power. Doesn't matter what, whether you like it or not. You're gonna have to give them that power. You have to give them that transition. We don't know what the next, but Ray Democrats are calling him to be removed from office. That means he should not work even those 2 weeks, because we don't know what more damage he can do in those 2 weeks before Biden comes in office. So I'm going to read it. So top Democrats call for Trump's removal from office after Capitol riots. Trump promises ordinary transition after Chills left 4 dead, including shooting victim from San Diego. See, 4 people died, and he caused that. Imagine, maybe these people are sad now they lost their family member because of his stupidness, and he's the one who asked for this. He's the one who did that, and it's really sad to see America like this. But it never happened in history. But that's what America is now. And hopefully, when Biden comes to office, things hopefully will get better, and America will be really good, and we won't have this kind of thing. Economy collapse in America. COVID-19 is really bad now. Trump didn't do not know what's happening, but now when Biden, our things are going to be better hands, and they're going to be better deal with. That's what it is, because democracy is democracy, right? Yes, there will be still people that are upset, but what can we do, right? That's democracy. We have to. Whoever deserves power deserves the power. Okay, so um, so the Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called for the removal of President Donald Trump from office after he encouraged protesters to march on the Capitol to dispute a legislative session taking place to formally approve state electoral college results confirming Joe Biden as the president-elect. The President of the United States indicated an armed insurrection against America, she said of Trump in her weekly news conference. She called on Vice President Mike Pence to use the 25th Amendment and said Democrats in Congress are prepared to act if he doesn't even, uh, though just under 2 weeks remain in Trump's term. The amendment allows for the vice president and the majority of the cabinet to declare the president unfit for the office. While it's only 13 days, every day can be a horror show, she said. Senate Democratic leader Chuck uh, Schumer earlier in the day issued a similar call in a statement. If the vice president and the cabinet refuse to stand up, Congress should reconvene to impeach the president, said as contract. And Donald Trump got impeached before, but he will if the Republicans don't agree to get rid of him. Because we don't like the Democrats are saying, we don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of days. Things can get worse, and so somebody like that cannot last even for 2 weeks, right? The Republican leader, led by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, has not commented on the possibility of reconvening for that purpose. Several Democrats in the House said they were preparing articles of impeachment against Trump. The president was previously impeached by the House almost 1 year ago for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress in the Ukraine policy scandal. Though he was acquitted in the Senate, Trump has expressed interest in running for the president again in 2024. According to the Constitution, disqualification to hold the enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States is a possible penalty for an impeachable offense. Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao is resigning effective Monday, becoming the highest-ranking member of Trump's administration to resign in a protest after the pro-Trump insurrection. In Thursday's statement, Cho said the violent attack on Capitol has deeply troubled me in a way that I simply cannot set aside. Charles, who is married to McConnell, said in her department will continue to cooperate with the President-elect Joe Biden, designated nominee, to head the department. Trump former acting chief of staff Mick McCullough, now a special envoy to North Ireland, earlier Thursday told CNBC in an interview he would be resigning. Earlier resignation from Wednesday, including Stephanie Garson, Melania Trump's staff, and former White House press secretary, as well as deputy national secretary advisor, said to be influenced in shaping the administration policy towards China. The chief of the U.S. Capitol Police says the mob that stormed the building wielded metal pipes, chemical errants, and other weapons against law enforcement. Stephen Sood issued a statement Thursday saying the rioting protesters actively attacked police officers and were determined to enter into the Capitol building by causing a great damage. The Capitol police officer shot and killed one person who Sund identified. Sund did not identify the officer but said they would be placed on administrative leave pending on investigation. He said several Capitol police officers were hospitalized with serious injuries without specifying. Several members of Congress, including Sen. Chris Murphy, thanked the officer for preventing members of the House and Senate from getting injured, but also promised to inquire about how the compound was breached. Pelosi thanked the brave action of rank and file members but said there was a failure of leadership at the top. She called for resignation of Soon, who she said hadn't yet briefed members of Congress on Wednesday event. D.C. Mayor Bowser at the news conference also thanked all police agencies who responded while announcing a 2-week state of emergency in order for the district to marshal for more resources during the transition between president administrations. She characterized the actions of those who stormed the Capitol as a textbook terrorism. DC police officials had earlier said the 2 pipe bombs were recovered, one outside the Democratic National Committee and one outside the Republican National Committee. Former Attorney General William Barr said Trump's conduct before and during the storming of the U.S. Capitol was a betrayal of his office and supporters. In a statement to the Associated Press, Barr said Thursday that a mob to pressure Congress is unexcusable. Barr was one of Trump's most loyal and defended in the cabinet. He resigned last month, days after saying at a news conference that he saw no evidence of widespread election fraud Trump was basically alleging. Spiritly acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen released a statement Thursday condemning those who breached the Capitol as a mob. Our criminal prosecutors have been working throughout the night with special agent and investigators with the U.S. Capitol Police, FBI, and ATF, Police Department, and the public to gather the evidence, identity, and change federal crimes were warranted, said Rosen. Trump said there will be an orderly transition on the January 20th after Congress concluded the election vote count certified President-elect Joe Biden victory. Trump said in a statement tweeted by the social media directed, even though I totally disagree with the outcome of the election and the fact bear out, nevertheless will be an ordinary transition on the 20th. He went on while this represents the end of the greatest first term in presidential history. It's only the beginning of our fight to make it again. The House and Senate certified Biden's Electoral College win earlier Thursday in a session interrupted for more than 6 hours by violence outside their chambers. 13 Republican senators and dozens of Republican representatives have planned to force debate and votes on perhaps 6 different state votes. The assault on the Capitol made some Republicans about trying to overturn Biden's win, and challenges were lodged only against Arizona and Pennsylvania. Biden defeated Trump by 306 to 132 electoral votes and will be inaugurated on January 20th. So that's what's happening, and it's sad that that's um, never this happened in America. Never the Capitol got hit only once and didn't get hit before. Now we're gonna be moving on to that. So Facebook extends Trump's ban ident- identify identity and Shopee shuts sites in the wake of the U.S. Capitol shows. Major social media and e-commerce companies moved to further control outgoing U.S. President Donald Trump's ability to post on their platform. Thursday, after his followers stormed the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. a day earlier, social media services including Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat froze the president's account temporarily on Wednesday after he repeated baseless claims about election interference. Initial freeze on all platforms were between 12 and 24 hours, but Facebook took the temporary ban one step further on Thursday, announcing his account will be frozen at least for the remainder of his term and possible longer. We believe the risk of allowing the president to continue to use our service during this period are simply too great, Zuckerberg said in a Facebook post on Thursday. Therefore, we are extending the block we have in place on Facebook and Instagram accounts, and for at least the next 2 weeks until the peaceful transition of power is complete. Thomas Reid, cyber conflict scholar, tweeted and respected to Zuckerberg and Facebook shortly after the announcement that Trump's account would be locked for 2 weeks. Clearly the right move, Reid said. Consciously to political violence is not acceptable. Twitter should do so as well. Trump initially 12-hour ban on Twitter has now expired and he has not yet tweeted anything as of 2 p.m. Eastern Time, but it's unclear if that is his choice or company. A post from the official Twitter safety account said on Wednesday evening that the company could take further action as well. We're continuing to evaluate the situation in real time, including examining activity on the ground and statements made off Twitter, the post read. Uh, Based on recent events, we have determined that the actions of President Donald J. Trump violated our acceptable use policy, which prohibits promotion or support of organization, platform, or people that threaten to condemn violence to further a cause. As a result, we have terminated stores with the President Donald Trump. When visited on Thursday, both his hotel and bread and goods businesses sites, trumpstore.com and company store shop, .com generated message saying, "Oops, something went wrong," and this store is unavailable. Many extremists involved in Wednesday violence were holding signs indicating that they are believers movement and also supporters of Donald Trump. So this is what's happening in America. America is really crazy now, and we can see it. And hopefully, things are going to be when Biden comes in power, things should be better, and everything will be. So that's what's happening in America, and we will see in the next couple of days what's going to happen with that. Um, Now I will be moving. There's other politicians talk like Jason Kenney and all these people. So I'm gonna read what he said yesterday because he did say it in the Facebook yesterday's message. Um, we did talk yesterday, and I'm gonna read it. Um, so I'm gonna have to read that. Yes, I'm gonna read it now. So Premier Jason Kenney suggests widespread COVID-19 restrictions may not be lifted next week. So this is about the restrictions about today. So Alberta is hoping to see COVID-19 restrictions lifted next week, may need to temper their expectations. Speaking publicly Wednesday for the first time since January 1st, Premier Jason Kenney addressed Albertans' question live on Facebook, addressing topics like the MLA travel controversy, COVID-19 restrictions, and return to in-person classes in Alberta schools. Additionally, measures will be announced Thursday as part of the plan for students to return to in-person classes next week, Kenny said. We will be we will be also be providing additional contact tracing supporters for where there are outbreaks in schools, and we will be also providing additional support to teachers, he said. Kenny said the province wouldn't reopen schools unless it was safe to do so. He said Alberta is experiencing relative few incidents of in-school transmission of the virus. Students in grades 7 to 12 have been learning at home since November 30th. Younger students continue to attend classes in person until the start of the Christmas break. They repeated to learning at home for this week, January 4th to 8th. While parents might be relieved that their children can return to school, people who miss fitness classes and drinking in pubs may need to wait until a little bit longer. The most recent set of restrictions announced in mid-December closed gyms and hair salons, limited in-person gathering, and restricted restaurants to offer takeout. The restrictions could be lifted on January 12th at the earliest, but that would depend on the number of cases, hospitalization, and other indicators. Kenny said the province isn't anywhere near the point. He said Alberta is still has some of the worst per capita cases numbers in the country, with a positive rate around 7%. Hospitalization numbers are steady but haven't dropped, and at least 20 people a day are succumbing to the virus, he said. If we're just to lift all the restrictions and let it rip, there is no doubt in mind we would be back in the kind of exponential growth we saw in late November, early December. Kenny said he favors a gradual reopening and service and activities that have a lower transmission risk. He likened closing the opening businesses only to close them again, but to be on a roller coaster. What I've heard from Albertans that they want off the roller coaster. So finally, now he planned to take responsibility and trying to understand Albertans a little bit better. But before we saw how JC Kenney was, he wasn't taking nothing seriously in any way. But now he's doing that, and We can see a little bit of that, not much. But that's what that's the restriction that he's gonna he talked about already. But he did talk yesterday about what happened in Washington. There's a video, but there's no anyways, that's for that. That's for Jason Kenny. What's happening? They're gonna be updating in 1 hour. But I'm gonna be moving on now. Going back to other news, right? Um, so we're gonna be moving on now, talking about. So Trill's planning to meet all with the premiers in a phone call. Today will be a meeting with all the premiers, including our premier, and that's something he's planning to do today. So roughly 19,005,000 Canadians have received first shot despite delivery of at least 42,005,000 doses. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will meet virtually with the premiers today as provincial and federal politicians point finger at each other over the speed of Canada's COVID-19 vaccination effort. Canada has been outpaced on vaccination so far by Israel and the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, the US, the UK, Denmark, Russia, Italy, and Germany, according to the data from earlier this week. Collated by the University of Oxford based Our World in Data spokesperson from the Prime Minister's office, PMO, said Trudeau will repeat his offer today to help the provinces speed up the pace of vaccination. I am confident that the pace of vaccination is going to pick up rapidly, and we will be there to support and help the provinces as they get these vaccines out the door, Trudeau said in an interview with Whistler BC radio station this morning. Trudeau expressed frustration on Tuesday with the Canada's process on vaccination. Government numbers show Canada had received nearly 42,005,000 doses of the Moderna and Pfizer BioNTech vaccine. As of December 31st, roughly 19,005,000 Canadians have received shots of Wednesdays, according to the estimate by a group of academics and data analysis, well below 1% of the country's population. Israel, which leads the world in vaccines administered per population, has given at least one dose to 17% of its 9 million people already. The federal government has taken the lead on procuring doses of COVID-19 vaccine by signing advances agreement with 7 vaccine makers and coordinating their delivery, while the provinces and territories are responsible for administering them. Some provinces acknowledge there have been problems with administering the vaccines, particularly with trying to get the delicate Pfizer BioNTech product to remote areas. But many premiers have said the real question in the days and weeks ahead will be whether Ottawa gets vaccines to the province quickly enough. Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe tweeted in Tweet Wednesday he will be telling Trudeau during the virtual meeting that the numbers of doses expected to be delivered to this province in January is insignificant. Saskatchewan is ready to deliver vaccine as quickly as and safely as possible. As soon as we receive them, the tweet said. The federal government is now telling us to expect only 30,000 doses by the end of January. There is not nearly enough, and considerable less than what they had estimated last month. A spokesperson for Alberta Premier Jason Kenney also accused the federal government of being too slow to deliver doses. The truth is that the federal government has been slow to produce vaccine to the provinces, which has resulted in fewer Canadians being vaccinated. Christine Mate wrote an email. For example, the Prime Minister went to the media to foreshadow the immediate arrival of the Moderna vaccine in the middle of December, but shipments only arrive in provinces at the very end of the year. Ontario running out of vaccine, Ford claims. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has repeatedly claimed that Ontario is on the verge of running out of vaccine. Every CEO of every hospital and PHO public health units are going to be running out of vaccine, Ford told reporters today. I know the federal government is doing everything it can, but we are moving 15,000 vaccination yesterday alone, and that's just going to climb up. Despite those claims, a spokesperson for Ontario government told the province recently received another 48,000 doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, for a total of 14,003,000 doses of the product. The Ontario government vaccination website, meanwhile, shows Ontario has administered just 72,631,000 doses as of Wednesday night. PMO said Trudeau Trudeau also plans to bring up with the Premier the situation in long-term care homes, new measures for international travellers at the land borders and airports, and the federal support for people and businesses facing increasing tight lockdown restrictions. Absent from PMO list of priorities is the provinces and territories' demand for an increase in Canada Health transfer, something Ford office said he plans to raise despite the fact that the transfer was the main topic of a December 1st meeting. So today he's going to be meeting with the premier, and that's what's expected today that will happen, especially with Trudeau's government. That's their plan, is to go and meet with the premier. I'm going to be going back to Alberta now, and there's a lot of things to talk about. So Alberta's numbers is going to be things like that. So Kenny to join Henshaw during today's COVID-19 briefing. So Alberta Premier Jason Kenney will provide an update this afternoon on Alberta effort to curb the spread of COVID-19. Kenney will join Dr. Dina Henshaw, Alberta Chief Medical Officer of Health, at a news conference Thursday. The briefing is set to begin 4 p.m. You can watch it here live. Today's news conference will be the first time Kenny has joined Henshaw behind the podium since December 22nd, when he cautioned Alberta to remain vigilant over the holidays and spoke of the tragedies surging cases numbers were exiting on the frontline healthcare. Since then, the province has been enrolled in the MLA travel scandal, made slow but steady progress in its vacationing campaign, lost 3 healthcare workers to the illnesses, and watched reported cases gradually decline. A total of 13,450 Albertans are now infected with the illness, the lowest active cases count seen in Alberta since mid-November. Despite the decline in cases, Kenney had suggested that the widespread health restrictions may not be lifted next week. Instead, additional measures will be announced Thursday as part of the plan for students to return to in-person classes next week, Kenney said during a live Q&A on his Facebook page Wednesday evening. We will also be providing additional contact tracing support for where there are outbreaks in schools, and we will be also providing additional support to teachers, Kenny said. If we're just to lift all the restrictions and let it rip, there is no doubt in mind we would be back in the kind of exponential growth we saw in late November, early December. On Wednesday, the province reported 1,123 new cases of illnesses and 25 additional deaths. A total of 1,193 people have now died from COVID-19 in Alberta. Across Alberta, 911 people were being treated for COVID-19 in hospital, including 141 in ICU beds. A total of 30,033 doses of vaccine had been administered in the province by the end of Tuesday. So that's how things are, especially in Alberta, and that's how things were, and sad to see that. Oh yeah, gonna be talking about Joe Biden too. Yeah, so Joe Biden he blamed. So U.S. Joe Biden accused Donald Trump today for what happened yesterday, but that was huge. Joe Biden blames Trump for violence on Capitol Hill as he nominates his choices for Attorney General. U.S. President-elect Joe Biden on Thursday denounced the riots who stormed the U.S. Capitol as domestic terrorists and blamed President Donald Trump for the violence that has shaken the nation capital and beyond. The action of Trump supporters who breached the security of Congress on Wednesday said Biden was not descended, was not disordered, was not protest, it was chaos. Those who massed on Capitol Hill intended to disrupt a joint session of Congress that was certifying Biden's election victory over Trump weren't protesters. Don't dare call them protesters. They were riots, mobs. Domestic terrorist is the basic, Biden said. In the past 4 years, we've been a president who made his contempt for our democracy, our constitution, the rule of law clear is everything has had done, Biden said. He unleashed an all-out assault on our institution of our democracy from the outset, and yesterday was the uh, of unrelating attack. The mobs of hundreds of Trump backers broke into the Capitol and stormed the hall, looking into the lawmakers, who were forced to halt their deliberation and evacuate to safety. The violent protesters were engaged by Trump himself, who was falsely contended that he lost the election due to the voter fraud. Trump claims had been repeatedly dismissed in the court, including the Supreme Court and by state election officials from both parties and even some his own administrations. Biden made his remarks as he introduced Merrick Garland as his pick of Attorney General on Thursday, along with three others he has selected for senior Justice Department positions to restore the independence of Justice Department and the faith in the rule of law. Um, if confirmed by the Senate, which is likely, Garland would take over as the nation's top law enforcement official at the critical moment for the country and the agency. He would inherit immediately challenges related to civil rights, ongoing criminal tax investigation into Biden's son Hunter, and the call from many Democrats to pursue criminal inquiries into Trump after he leaves office. Beyond the specific issue, he will be tasked with repairing the American people's border disrupt in the U.S. Justice Department, among other institutions of democracy undermined by Trump's turbulent presidency. Biden vowed that Garland's loyalty would rest not with the president but with the law and constitution. You don't work for me, Biden charged as he introduced Garland. Biden used the event to also address what he said was a blatant inequality in dealing with the mob on Capitol Hill Wednesday. No one can tell me that if it had been a group of Black Lives Matter protesting yesterday, they wouldn't have been treated very very different than the mobs of thugs who stormed the Capitol. Garnold would inherit a Justice Department that he endured for 4 years and amendment criticism from Democrats over what they see as the politicization of law enforcement. The department is expected to dramatically change course under a new leadership, including through a different approach to civil rights issues and national policing policies, especially after months of mass protesters over the death of Black Americans at the hand of law enforcement. Black and Latino advocacy had want Black Attorney General or someone with a background in civil rights causes. The criminal justice reform groups including the NACP, Legal Defense and Educational Fund had championed Garnold's Supreme Court nomination, but the extent of support from minority groups for the Attorney General's job was not immediately clear. Biden introduced three other for senior Justice Department leadership posts, including Obama administration Homeland Security Advisor Lisa McConnell as a Deputy Attorney General and former Justice Department Civil Rights Chief uh, Ventia Gupta as Associate Attorney General. The no third official, he also named an Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights Christine Clark, now the president of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under Law and Advocacy Group. Though Garnold is a white man, the selection of Gupta and Clark, two women with significant experience in civil rights, appeared designated to blunt any concerns and served as a signal that progressive causes would be prioritized in a new administration. So that's what's happening in America. Is really sad to see this is happening, and what happened yesterday was really sad and devastating, and it wasn't really a joke. So that's what's happening. That's what Biden said today. Um, we're gonna go to Quebec now. Coronavirus, what's happening in Canada and around the world. Um, Possibility of stricter lockdown measures loomed Thursday for regions beyond Quebec as COVID-19 cases surge and critics push for assertive vaccination. Quebec moves to implement curfews, especially in Ontario, where daily infections and death tallies reached new high, and the province announced all schools in southern Ontario will remain closed for in-person learning until January 25th. Learning on data that suggests COVID-19 positive rate among children is on the rise. Ford had earlier expressed concerns over resuming in-class learning on Monday as planned. University of Manitoba uh, says Quebec's decision to begin a 4-week curfew Saturday set the tone for the nation pandemic fight. Maybe it causes people in western provinces where they're not being that hard hit right now what things they're not doing as far as infection control. On Wednesday, Quebec became the first province to impose a curfew on a soaring infection in intensive the strain on hospitalization. The measures bars people from leaving their home between 8 p.m. and 5 p.m. expected to work. The province reported 2,519 new cases of COVID-19 on Thursday and 74 more deaths, including 16 that occurred in the past 24 hours. Much of Quebec, including the province's largest city, had been under partial lockdown since October when bars, restaurants, dining rooms, gyms, and entertainment were closed. In December, Quebec closed all non-essential retail stores and extended the winter break for elementary and high school students. Compounding the picture is still small but growing numbers of cases related to novel coronavirus variant first identified in United Kingdom that is believed to be even more contagious than the original. Nevertheless, Transport Minister Mark Carney lifted the ban on impounding flights from the UK. A negative coronavirus test will be required to board flights to Canada starting this week. As of 2:45 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, Canada had recorded more than 6,063,003,401 cases of COVID-19 and 16,547 deaths. The numbers of active cases stood at 80,333. Push to speed up vaccination expected to be high on the agenda when Prime Minister Justin Trudeau convenes a virtual First Minister meeting later Thursday. Earlier this week, Trudeau voiced frustration over the pace of getting Canadians vaccinated. As of Tuesday, Canada had received nearly 42 million 5,000 doses of the Moderna and Pfizer BioNTech vaccine, but fewer than 15 million Canadians have been received the shot by then. In Atlantic Canada, Nova Scotia reported 4 new cases of COVID-19 on Thursday, bringing the total number of cases reported in the province to 1,524. New Brunswick reported 24 new cases on Thursday. There are now 130 active cases in the province and one person in the hospital in the intensive care. There were no new cases reported in Newfoundland and Labrador for the second day in a row. Health officials in Prince Edward Island reported 1 new case. In the North Yukon reported 1 new case of COVID-19 on Wednesday. No new cases were reported in Nunavut and the Northwest Territories. In Manitoba, health officials reported 176 new COVID-19 cases and 10 additional deaths on Wednesday. 60 of the new cases were linked to holiday gatherings. Health officials in Saskatchewan reported 208 new cases on Thursday and 12 deaths. Alberta reported 1,123 new cases and 25 additional deaths on Wednesday. British Columbia reported 625 new cases of COVID-19 on Wednesday, as well as 8 additional deaths. As of mid-Thursday afternoon Eastern Time, more than 87.5 million cases of COVID-19 have been reported worldwide, with 48.9 million of those cases considered recovered or resolved, according to the COVID-19 case tracking tool. Maintained by Johns Hopkins University, the global death toll stood at more than 1.8 million.